كل شيء ذي بال لا يبدأ بسم الله فهو أبتر، فبسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أحبائي أعزائي بناتي أبنائي طلبة المعهد العالي للهندسة والتكنولوجيا بأكاديمية النيل للعلوم بالمنصورة، أرحب بكم جميعا في هذا المعهد الكريم، وأبارك لكم انضمامكم إلى قافلة المبدعين والمهندسين، فأهلا بكم جميعا إن شاء الله مهندسي المستقبل. أبارك لكم، أبارك لأسركم التي تجشمت عناء إعطائكم الفرصة مرة ثانية لكي تحققوا طموحاتكم وآمالكم. كما أنتهز هذه الفرصة الجليلة العظيمة لأقدم تحياتي إلى صاحب هذا الإنجاز ومن منح هذه الفرصة، الأستاذ الدكتور صلاح عبد الغفار منصور، رئيس مجلس إدارة أكاديمية النيل للعلوم بالمنصورة. شكرا على ما قدمت، وشكرا على إصرارك على أن تقدم هذه الفرصة لأبناء إقليمك بالدقهلية والدلتا على وجه العموم. شكرا لك، وشكرا لمجلس إدارتك، وشكرا للعاملين بالأكاديمية، وشكرا للعاملين بالمعهد العالي للهندسة والتكنولوجيا بالمنصورة. أبارك لكم جميعا، فإن الانضمام لأسرة الهندسة شرف كبير لكم أن تكونوا ضمن هؤلاء المبدعين، فكل شيء في حياتنا يرتبط ارتباطا وثيقا بكلمة الهندسة، فإننا ننعت ونصف كل ما هو جميل بأنه هندسة. فعلى قولة الإنجليزية Scientists describe the world as it is, engineers create a world that has never been. يعني يقوم العلماء بوصف العالم على كينونته، أما المهندسون فهم مبدعون ويخلقون عوالم جديدة، بل ويطورون ويبتكرون دوما في هذا العالم. شكرا للمهندسين وشكرا لأسرة الهندسة. وبعد فإننا سوف نقدم لكم ضمن كوكبة من الأساتذة العظماء في أكاديمية النيل للعلوم وفي المعهد العالي للهندسة والتكنولوجيا بهذه الأكاديمية، أكاديمية النيل للعلوم بالمنصورة. نقدم لكم منهجا في اللغة الإنجليزية التي تمثل لغة التواصل في العالم، التي تمثل الخيار الأخير عندما يلتقي مواطنون من جنسيات مختلفة ومن أماكن مختلفة وبلغات مختلفة، فإن الخيار الأوحد هو اللغة الإنجليزية. فعلى قولتنا هي lingua franca of the world، أو world language، أو the language of communication at the universal level. So globally, English is the medium of expression, is the medium of communication among the different peoples of the world. يعني اللغة الإنجليزية تستمد أهميتها من كونها لغة التواصل في العالم، ولغة التواصل في بين شعوب العالم المتحدثين بلغات مختلفة. لعلكم تحملون كتابا يضم منهج هذا العام وهذا الفصل الدراسي وهذا المستوى الدراسي، A practical approach to English for engineering with activities and exercises for individual, pair and group work. نستمد من هذا العنوان كلمة practical، فهو منهاج عملي لأنه يعتمد على المشاركة، على ما يسمى بالإنجليزية interaction أو التفاعل الطلابي مع الأستاذ. It is not one way learning، فهو ليس أسلوب التعلم بطريقة العطاء من جانب واحد، ولكنه يعتمد على التفاعل من قبل الطلاب والمشاركة من قبل الطلاب. ولعلنا نرى في السبتايتل أو العنوان الفرعي with activities and exercises for individual, pair and group work، فإننا سنقوم بالتدريبات على اللغة الإنجليزية عمليا بطريقة فردية كل طالب على حدة، أو بطريقة التشارك كل طالبين أو طالبتين وبطريقة المجموعة أو الجروب براكتس في داخل المحاضرات وداخل السكشنز بفضل الله تعالى. إذا ما نظرنا إلى introduction, this course is designed for engineering students who need training and guidance in understanding genuine English during and after their study at the Nile Academy Higher Institute for Engineering. يعني نحن نتحدث عن منهاج هنا وكورس في اللغة الإنجليزية مفيد لكم الآن وعندما تتخرجون، ولذا يجب الاهتمام بالمشاركة في قاعات الدرس، في المدرجات، في قاعات السكشنز من قبل الطلاب. فإننا حريصون في الأكاديمية على أن نقدم ما يسمى quality education أو تعليم ذات جودة، لأننا نريد مهندسين يتنافسون عالميا. يعني إن شاء الله next generation will compete globally. We need global standards. We are looking after global standards. We professors, officials at the academy, board of directors, head of the board, chairman of the board, we are looking forward to seeing graduates that can compete easily and safely at a global level. So we're hoping that you're going to do this quite well in the future, inshallah. If you look at the table of contents that you have in your books, actually you have like 88 topics. لدينا من الموضوعات 88 موضوعات متنوعة في تعليم اللغة الإنجليزية تركز على ما يسمى ب soft skills أو المهارات الرئيسة أو المهارات الأساسية. soft skills تتضمن كتابة السيرة الذاتية CV writing، تتضمن presentation skills، تتضمن مهارة العرض. فهذه مهارات أساسية لا محالة في أن يتعلمها الطالب. هي it's a must that you learn how to present yourself. It's a must that you learn how to introduce yourself. It's a must that you learn how to offer a written CV. It's a must that you know how to introduce yourself during the job interview, and then it's a must to know how to communicate generally speaking with people on the streets, with people at the institute, at the academy, on and off campus. This is important for you as inshallah future engineers. Our first topic is, we have diverse topics indeed to deal with throughout this course. As you see, we have sentence structures, we have modals, we have irregular comparisons, plural nouns, phrasal verbs, American and British English, Arabic words in English, new words in English, slangy expressions and colloquial expressions, interjections, proverbs, idioms and idiomatic expressions, gender, compound nouns, binomials, similes, acronyms, abbreviations, computer abbreviations, among many others, until you get 88 topics to deal with in this course. If you consider page 1, sentence structure, this is important for you. Correct English sentence is one of the skills that we're going to learn this year. I know some of you are good at English, but many of you cannot write correct English sentence. So part of the job, part of the work here is to teach you how to write a good and correct English sentence. Look at this. What are sentences first? What do you do with sentences? Sentences are groups of words, phrases, clauses, Either you put a word into a phrase and then into a clause. These can make sentences at the end. For example, a sentence may be made of one word, like when we say go. A sentence may be made up of two words, like when we say do it or leave now in imperative sentences. A sentence can be expanded into larger units, into more phrases, more clauses, etc. Today, we're going to consider sentences, English sentences, from two perspectives. One, from their functions. We look at sentences or classify sentences according to their functions. Number one, declarative sentences. We call these in Arabic al-jumal al-khabariyya. These sentences actually make statements or assert something or confirm something. You see? Al-ikhbar an shay'in ma. For example, I like you, he's 16, they mustn't come here. Also, declarative sentences can be affirmative or negative, as you see. I can see you, I can see you. Again, sentences in English can function imperatively, can be imperative sentences. These are the sentences that give orders, which we call in Arabic al-jumal al-amriya. An imperative sentence is what we call in Arabic al-jumla al-amriya. For example, put them in here. Don't put them in here. So, sentences can be affirmative or negative. Again, number three, interrogative sentences. When we talk about interrogative sentences, please remember that we're talking about two kinds of sentences. One, what we call a yes-no question. A yes-no question. That is to say, a question, the answer of which is either a yes or a no. For example, are you the oldest man here? The example that you have on page 2. Are you the oldest one here? Did you hear the noise? Did you hear the noise? So here, the answer is that simple. A yes or a no. The second type of interrogative questions is what we call WH questions. That is to say, these are questions beginning with what, when, where, which, who, why, how. We call these, grammatically speaking, WH questions. And they expect answers other than yes or no, like we have seen in the first type. Interrogative questions. Who can play football, for example? Number 4, exclamatory sentences. Exclamatory sentences. What we call in Arabic al-jumal al-ta'ajjubiyya. These indicate the speaker's opinion of or attitude towards their subject matter. So when you exclaim, you're expressing an attitude or you're expressing an opinion on something that you have seen or that you have experienced. Like, for example, what terrible news you've brought to me. What terrible news you've brought to me. I want you to remember that exclamatory sentences need certain intonations. You should give the feel of an exclamatory sentence. That is to say, you could, wow, how, what a day, good man. So you should show in your intonation, the exclamation mark must be translated into an intonation in your speech or in your voice. Number 5, what we call minor sentences. Minor sentences. Like, verbless sentences. Verbless sentences. Sentences without verb. These are common in English proverbs. في الأقوال المأثورة وفي الحكم وفي الأمثال الشعبية. هذا شائع that you find a sentence without a verb. Although grammatically speaking, a verb is one of the main components or main constituents of a sentence, but it is acceptable in sentences which we call minor English sentences. I want you to notice that these sentences are very common and they are acceptable, completely acceptable. Although holding to the grammatical rules, they are not. But in English, we distinguish between what we call grammatical correctness, الصحة النحوية, and grammatical acceptability, القبول, or linguistic acceptability, القبول اللغوي. فقد يكون هناك شكل لغوي لا ينطبق والقاعدة الشائعة ولكنه مقبول في الاستخدام اللغوي. These are deviant structures. These are idiomatic expressions that are acceptable in many English situations. For example, when we say better late than never, better late than never. If you consider this proverb, you're going to find that these proverbs لكن a verb. There is no verb in this proverb. So, but it is acceptable, although a verb is an important constituent for the sentence. Now, let us move to another perspective from which to consider sentences in English. Now, as we have considered sentences as regards their function, now we're going to look at sentences through their structures. In English, we divide sentences into three kinds: simple, compound, complex. Simple, compound, complex. A simple sentence, as you see on page 4, a simple sentence, it consists of a single independent clause and doesn't contain a subordinate clause. William wrote well. It's as simple as that. Just one clause in the sentence. Compound sentences, on the other hand, are made up of two simple sentences linked by a coordinating conjunction. I want you to remember this. We should always be aware of the distinction between what we call compound sentences. What are compound sentences? Compound sentences are composed of two or more simple sentences related by a coordinator, and, but, or. However, subordinate sentences are sentences, or complex sentences are sentences which are made up of a superordinate clause plus a subordinate clause, usually linked or interrelated via a subordinating conjunction, because for in the sense that etc. These are what we call the subordinating conjunctions. So complex sentences, like I said, consist of one simple sentence, or what we call the main clause. In grammatical jargon or in syntactic jargon, we call this or the main clause a superordinate clause, or main or principal clause. Other clauses are subordinate clauses. Consider the following sentence. When William defeated Harold, he became king. When William defeated Harold, he became king. The man who was wearing a black hat left when he realized that he was being watched. When he realized that he was being watched. Notice something, that clauses which begin with who, which, and that often occur within the main clause. So the man left. The man who was wearing a black hat left. So this is what we call syntactic embedding. You're going to learn about this later on. So I want you, when you start writing English, I want you to take care of these patterns. Consider these patterns. Don't expand into a 7-line sentence or an 8-line sentence. Don't enlarge your sentence structure to extend to 8 lines, 9 lines. No, try to stick to these patterns for a start until your English improves and improves. So I wish you the best of luck. Please remember that we are now under severe conditions of the corona pandemic. Please be cautious enough. Please, no proximity, keep distancing, no handshakings, no hugs, no kisses. Safety first. May Allah Almighty safeguard Egypt and all Egyptians. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much. We're gonna meet the next class إن شاء الله. نلتقي على خير بإذن الله. تحياتي لكم جميعا.